Okay guys, welcome back. I want to give you a brief little update on what is going on with the spray drift. So in the last 2 weeks, I finally got a copy of the KDA report with an open records request from the Department of Agriculture, or to the Department of Agriculture. The incident that was investigated, a report, there was an investigation report and finalized, and the compliance action, all that. But anyway, a report was made. It's a 127 page report. It's pretty thorough, and I want to thank KDA for that. Last week, the start of this week, I finally heard back from my certification agent, my ACA, and I have received a notice of proposed suspension, and I have received a notice of non-compliance. And so we are working through that. Not a whole lot, it's a process. And anyway, we're here by the bean field. The beans are starting to turn. And so we're creeping up on harvest. And if you look at the windshield there, you can probably just barely detect it. We're getting a little light shower, light rain this week. We have had, I want to say about 280 in the last 7 days of rain. And so it stays moist, and so the harvest this year is most likely going to be another struggle to beat the weather. But anyway, back to the spray case. What we did today is I have had visits with a couple of the principal parties involved, and what I expressed to them was that we can either attempt to handle the situation like gentlemen. We can turn this, we can handle it personally. We can handle it through insurance, or we can handle it legally. Obviously, my preference would be for people to acknowledge the situation and what happened, and to take responsibility for it. So, out in my field there, you can see a few water hemp have popped through, and you can see my red root pigweed, which I have from the manure applications on this field. But overall, the field looks, I guess, as good as it can look. So I have been hesitant to make videos because I do fear that the situation is going to turn into a legal situation with lawyers. And so I am very hesitant to speak or reveal a whole lot. The reality is that this is probably going to drag out for an extended amount of time. But the one thing that I can relate to you guys today is I think that we're going to change the title of the video series to DICAMBA, because one of the things that KDA found in their report, they pulled a sample, but their sample came back positive on the DICAMBA detection. And so, we're no longer dealing with a gray area here. We're dealing with a concrete known. In other words, a third-party enforcement agency came to my farm and pulled a sample and went through the proper protocol, and that sample detected hot for DICAMBA. And so, that's what we got here. What happened to this field was DICAMBA drift. That's no longer a gray issue. That's actually a very legal and straightforward issue now. The irony of the situation on the sampling was that the sample that was pulled by my ACA, an inspector was flown in, and the inspection was expedited. But that sample did come back negative. But the KDA sample was taken before that, and I think it was taken 5 days before that. But KDA's sample came back hot on the detection of DICAMBA. So we are going to continue to move forward, and obviously, you know, for those of you familiar with the organic standards, we're going to have to initiate a segregation protocol, a parallel production protocol. You know, there's several different names for it, but the regulatory burden that I as an organic farmer bear, that regulatory burden is going to go up. The reality is that I am an operation that is 100% organic, and so when an event like this happens, suddenly I become an operation that is not 100% organic, but one that is doing parallel production. And so I have to institute segregation protocols and you know, things that can be verified to track what went where. You know, I do that already, but now there is an extra level of regulatory oversight, if you will, into how we handle stuff and how we as an individual organic farmer prevent commingling and contamination. So that's the update for today, guys. Thinking forward into the future, you know, I'm sorry it's taken me a while to make this update, but really what I was waiting for were those couple things, you know, the report from KDA and the report from my ACA. You know, the ACA report is not done yet. There was a non-compliance issued, and obviously I have to deal with that non-compliance, and then they have to address how I'm dealing with the non-compliance. So, you know, it's a process. It's a long, drawn-out process. It requires a lot of patience. It requires persistence, etc. There have been a number of ironies in the situation, and there always are ironies, and there's gray areas, and but anyway, I'll turn around backwards here real quick. There's a shot at the neighbor's field, and they're drying down real good. They're drying down real good. Mine are holding their green a little bit longer. But anyway, we're going to continue to move forward, and we're going to continue to try and bring this situation to a resolution. So thanks, guys.